In the year 372 of the galactic calendar, on the edge of the Orion spiral arm, the Dawn frigate cut through the nebula filled with interstellar dust like a silver blade. On the bridge command seat, Lin Jin's fingertips tapped on the console where the cold light flowed. His deep eyes locked on the beating red dots on the holographic star map, and his whole body was surrounded by a calm aura that did not match his early 20s. As the youngest captain of a frigate in the history of the Federation, he has just finished his lonely journey of 3 years of border guarding and is now ordered to go to the Star Ring 7 scientific research station, which has been abandoned for 5 years, to retrieve an encrypted experimental data marked as highest priority. Captain, a weak life signal was detected on the periphery of Star Ring 7, coordinates 37.62, 12.98, and the signal source was extremely unstable, and it was preliminarily determined to be a carbon-based organism. The communications officer's voice penetrated the silence of the bridge, with a somewhat imperceptible surprise. Lin Jin's eyebrows frowned slightly. Star Ring No. 7 has long been an abandoned coordinate between the stars. 5 years ago, a sudden unknown energy storm swept through this place. All the researchers evacuated urgently, and there has been no trace of life since then. Such a dead and silent place hides the breath of life. It is really abnormal. Reduce the speed to cruising, start the detection module, and I will go in person. When Lin Jin got up, the silver-gray captain's uniform flew lightly with his movements. His fingertips neatly smoothed out the folds of his clothes, and the particle gun on his waist fit his waistline, showing the capable and decisive determination of a soldier. The deputy captain immediately stepped forward to dissuade him. "Captain, the internal structure of the scientific research station is unknown, and the residual energy fluctuations are unknown, so it is safer to send Marines there. The signal is special and weak, and the Marine Corps lacks accurate detection equipment, so it is more appropriate for me to go." Lin Jin's tone was unbelievable. He was not only recognized as a tactical genius by the Federation, but also proficient in interstellar creatures and energy detection, which was the core reason why the headquarters entrusted this mission to him. 10 minutes later, the exploration capsule, like a homing star butterfly, slowly docked at the rusted docking hatch of Star Ring 7. The moment the hatch door opened, a cold breath mixed with metal rust and a faint, strange floral fragrance came to the face. The floral fragrance was clear and long, particularly abrupt in the dead and silent space, like a star blooming quietly in the dark. The inside of the scientific research station was already in disarray, with broken instrument remains scattered all over the ground. Glass fragments refracted the glow of emergency lights, and the walls were covered with scorched black marks left by the energy impact like hideous scars. Only the emergency lights emitted a faint blue light in the boundless darkness, barely outlining the outline of the empty corridor, and the sound of footsteps echoed in the silence, making the place more and more desolate. Lin Jin activated the multifunction detector on his wrist, and the light blue detection light swept around, and the source of the life signal became clearer, like a start rail guiding the direction, leading him to the biological laboratory deep in the scientific research station. The protective door of the laboratory was distorted and deformed by the impact of energy. Half hidden in the shadows, most of the internal incubators were shattered and collapsed, and the pale green nutrient solution spread on the ground, exuding a faint smell of biological agents. Only the large incubation chamber in the center was intact. The cabin glowed with a cold metallic luster in the dim light. The needle of the detector suddenly beat wildly, and the source of the life signal was this isolated incubation chamber. Lin Jin approached slowly with light steps. His heart throbbed inexplicably, and through the transparent bulkhead, a figure slowly came into view, causing his pupils to shrink suddenly. In the cultivation cabin, the girl was suspended like a sleeping star spirit, her long silver-white hair wrapped around her body like flowing water, slowly rippling with the slight fluctuations of the nutrient solution. Her skin was whiter than snow, and she had a bit of a clear texture against the background of the pale green liquid. Her eyes were closed, her long eyelashes hung down like butterfly wings, and she was wearing a light blue tights. And the fabric was covered with complex silver lines, and there was a fine shimmer between the lines as if it was a start rail carrying energy. His chest slowly rose and fell with weak breathing, and his whole body was surrounded by faint white fluorescence, which complemented the nutrient solution in the cabin, like a sleeping beauty wrapped in stardust, quiet and holy. unknown carbon-based organisms, stable vital signs, special energy fluctuations detected in the body, and homology with the characteristics of the energy storm of Transring 7 that year. The mechanical sound of the detector sounded coldly, breaking the silence in the cabin. Lin Jin raised his hand to touch the bulkhead. The cold touch spread along his fingertips. His eyes fell on the control panel, and a line of incomplete text came into view, and the handwriting was blurry, but still recognizable. Subject 7. Panem Starfall gene fusion is successful. Energy fitness is 98. In just a few words, it seems to unveil the tip of the iceberg of the girl's life experience. At this moment, the incubation chamber suddenly made a piercing alarm sound, and the pale green nutrient solution suddenly rolled violently, forming a disordered vortex. The girl's brows suddenly tightened, and the fluorescence around her body became manic and disordered, as if she was suffering from great pain. Lin Jin reacted extremely quickly. His fingertips instantly landed on the control panel, and he quickly tapped the button between the pads of his fingers, relying on his familiarity with the old scientific research equipment of the Federation, forcibly terminating the alarm program, stabilizing the flow of nutrient solution, and the disorder in the cabin gradually subsided. The moment the alarm dissipated, the girl slowly opened her eyes. It was a pair of eyes that were enough to sink. The pupils were lilac, and there seemed to contain a whole rotating nebula in the depths. And the clarity was wrapped in dazeness and vigilance, like a young beast facing the unknown world. When her eyes fell on Lin Jin, the fluorescence around her body instantly became sharp as a blade, as if she was guarding against the invasion of intruders, and her breath became tense. "Don't be afraid, I have no ill intentions." Lin Jin slowed down his tone. His voice was as gentle as stardust brushing. He slowly withdrew his hand, deliberately relaxed his posture, and tried to make his expression seem friendly. "It's dangerous here. The energy residue is unstable. I'll take you away." The girl's eyes stayed on his face for a long time, as if to distinguish the truth in the words. The vigilance in the lilac eyes gradually melted, and the fluorescence around her body softened a little. But she was still silent, just looking at him quietly, her eyes pure and ignorant. Lin Jin tried to open the hatch of the culture cabin, and the light green nutrient solution was slowly discharged and flowed down the bulkhead. The girl lost her buoyancy support, and her body slowly fell to the bilge, obviously not yet adapted to the gravity environment, and staggered and almost fell. Lin Jin hurriedly stretched out his hand to support her, and the moment his fingertips touched her arm, the warm touch mixed with a faint electric flu came, and her arm was slightly numb, and the girl seemed to be stimulated by the sudden touch, retracted her hand suddenly, took a step back vigilantly, and a trace of timidity flashed in her eyes. "I'm sorry." Lin Jin withdrew his hand, kept a safe distance, and introduced softly, "My name is Lin Jin. I am the captain of the Federation Dawn frigate, and I was ordered to come here to collect experimental data." "Who are you? Why are you stuck here?" The girl's lips opened lightly, making an extremely soft sound, like a breeze blowing the interstellar dust, and like starlight falling on the strings, with a bit of jerky, obviously not speaking for a long time. "Starfall. My name is Starfall." Before the words fell, the probe suddenly sounded a rapid alarm. The red warning lights instantly filled the cabin, and the dense light spots on the screen quickly approached, showing that a number of unidentified aerial vehicles were galloping toward Star Ring 7. "Captain, it's not good. It is the spaceship of the intergalactic pirates Black Ravens. They have locked our position and are approaching quickly." The anxious voice of the deputy captain came from the communicator with a sense of tension unique to the battlefield. Lin Jin's face darkened. The Black Crows were a notorious pirate gang on the edge of Orion, burning, killing, and looting, and everywhere they went were in ruins, and it was no coincidence that they happened to appear at this abandoned scientific research station. "Starfall, we must leave immediately." Lin Jin no longer hesitated, stretched out her hand to pull up Xingwo's hand. Her hands were slender and cold, her fingertips trembled slightly, but she did not break free, and the temperature coming from her palm made her feel inexplicably at ease. The two of them rushed back to the docking module along the original path, and there was already a rumbling explosion from the scientific research station behind them, and the pirate landing module was forcibly breaking through the hatch. Rubble and sparks splashed, and the crisis followed like a tide. The probe module carried two people to quickly leave the Star Ring 7, and as soon as it completed the docking with the Dawn, the spacecraft of the Black Crows had already swarmed in, and the dense artillery fire hit the Dawn like a torrential rain, and the shield rippled after being hit. Lin Jin strode back to the bridge. His whole body instantly turned sharp, his eyes swept over the console like cold stars, and he gave a command sternly, "All the members enter the combat state. Activate the quantum shield, charge the main gun to 80, lock the pirate flagship, and prepare to counterattack." Starfall stood quietly beside Lin Jin, looking at the fiercely intertwined artillery fire on the holographic screen, and a strange light flashed in his lilac eyes. She raised her hand to touch the console, and the silver lines around her body instantly lit up, flowing and shining like a start rail. And a wave of lilac energy slowly spread from her body, like a gentle nebula enveloping the entire Dawn. The hull, which had been shaking violently due to the impact of artillery fire, suddenly stabilized, and the shield energy value soared at a speed visible to the naked eye. And the artillery fire of the Black Crows fell on the shield, only stirring up fine ripples of light patterns which was difficult to pose a threat. The crew on the bridge were stunned, looking at the stars in disbelief, their eyes full of shock and awe. Lin Jin was also slightly startled, and could clearly sense the strength and gentleness of that energy, completely different from the fury of the Star Ring No. 7 energy storm back then, but it also exuded the same aura, like a quiet galaxy and a surging nebula, both contradictory and connected. "This is your ability?" Lin Jin turned his head to look at Xing Wo. His tone was inquisitive, but more amazed. Xing Wo nodded slightly. Her face turned a little pale, and a trace of fatigue passed between her eyebrows. Obviously the energy output just now consumed a lot of her physical strength. "I can sense and manipulate energy, whether it's the shield of the spaceship or the energy core of the weapon." Lin Jin's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Starfall's ability can be called the ultimate trump card of interstellar navigation, especially on the ever-changing battlefield. This ability is enough to turn the tide of the battle, and it hides countless unknown secrets. "Starfall, can you help me strengthen the energy of the main cannon?" Lin Jin's tone was a little more gentle. Xing Wo had no words, just raised his hand to aim at the main gun console. Lilac energy was continuously injected into it like a stream, and the muzzle of the main gun gradually lit up with dazzling purple light, and the light became more and more intense, far exceeding the maximum power on weekdays, and the energy lines around the body became more and more brilliant. The main gun is fully charged, and the energy value exceeds the energy value by 30, reaching the critical stability value. The weapons officer couldn't hide his excitement, and his voice trembled. "Launch!" Lin Jin gave an order, and before the words fell, a dazzling beam of lilac energy shot out from the main gun of the Dawn, like a star blade that cut through the darkness, accurately hitting the flagship of the Black Crows. The flagship's shield shattered instantly, dissipating like glass, and the beam penetrated the hull, causing a violent explosion, and the flames scattered and splashed around with the wreckage, turning into stardust and blooming into short-lived fireworks in the deep starry sky. Seeing this, the remaining pirate spaceships were so frightened that they no longer dared to fight, and they all turned their course and fled. The battle ended, and the cheers rang out in the bridge, and the crew's eyes were full of gratitude and curiosity when they looked at the stars, and the previous guard had long since been accepted. Lin Jin arranged for the medical officer to do a comprehensive examination of Xing Wo, and the results showed that her physical functions were normal, only excessive energy consumption, and needed to rest and recover. What's even more shocking is that the medical officer detected that Starfall's gene sequence was extremely special, and it turned out to be a perfect fusion of human genes and some unknown interstellar creature genes, which is the root of her extraordinary energy manipulation ability. Lin Jin sat on a bench outside the Starfall ward, rubbing the genetic test report with his fingertips, falling into deep contemplation. The experiment of Star Ring 7 back then obviously revolved around this gene fusion technology, and Starfall, as the only successful test subject, must have hidden secrets that the Federation was eager to explore. The headquarters listed the recovery of data as the highest priority, and I am afraid that the goal from the beginning was not the data, but this mysterious test subject. And this calculation and concealment made him feel a chill in his heart. "What are you thinking?" Xing Wo's voice came softly. With the laziness of just waking up, the door of the ward was gently pushed open, and she walked out slowly, her face still a little pale. But she was much more energetic than before. Lin Jin put away the report and stood up. I am thinking about the experiment of Star Ring 7 in your life experience. Xing Luo was silent for a moment, walked to the porthole, looked at the deep starry sky outside the window. The starlight fell on her long silver-white hair, glowing with a fine shimmer, and her tone was full of confusion and loneliness. I can't remember too many things. I only remember sleeping in the incubation chamber for a long time. And there were some vague fragments. The cold light of the laboratory. The figure in a white coat and uncontrolled energy fluctuations. Her tone was as fragile as a fragile star crystal, like a lost child looking for a home in the vast sea of stars. Lin Jin looked at her thin back, and a burst of pity erupted in his heart. That emotion was pure and sincere, an experience he had never had in his many years of military career. It's okay, he said softly, in a firm tone. I'll help you find out all the truth and find your destination. Until then, Dawn is your home, and it will protect you. Xing Luo turned his head, his lilac eyes flashed with a star-like shimmer. He looked at Lin Jin fixedly, and said softly, "Thank you." The 3 words, as if carrying the weight of the galaxy, fell between the hearts of the two. Over the next few days, Starfall gradually adapted to life on the Dawn. She has extraordinary learning ability, and in just a few days she has mastered the operation of various equipment of the spacecraft, and can accurately use her own abilities to assist the operation of the spacecraft. Lin Jin gradually discovered that Starfall's ability was far more than controlling shields and weapons. She had a keen perception of interstellar space, and could predict the trajectory of hidden interstellar turbulence and unknown celestial bodies in advance, allowing Dawn to avoid fatal dangers several times, becoming an indispensable presence on the spacecraft. The intersection of the two is also getting along day and night. Lin Jin will patiently teach the language and culture of the Starfall Federation, take her to every corner of the Dawn, tell her anecdotes about border expeditions, and dispel the loneliness in her heart. Starfall will use its ability to repair damaged instruments, bring the cold machinery back to life, and when Lin Jin stays up late to formulate a route, he silently brings a cup of warm nutrient solution, with a faint energy breath on his fingertips, which can dispel the fatigue of staying up late. The crew on the bridge saw it in their eyes, and they always ridiculed the captain in private for being particularly gentle with this mysterious girl, and the feelings hidden in the details had already spread quietly. On this day, Dawn arrived at the relay station on the federal border, ready to replenish supplies, and at the same time transmitted the preliminarily recovered experimental data back to headquarters. Just halfway through the data transmission, Lin Jin received an encrypted communication from the headquarters, and after unlocking it with his fingertips, the content of the communication made his face instantly solemn, and the temperature around his body plummeted. The headquarters informed that Starfall's gene fusion technology was a federal taboo experiment, and the appearance of the Black Crows was not accidental, but was hired by a mysterious organization, and the goal was to capture Starfall. What's even more chilling is that the headquarters ordered him to immediately bring Starfall back to the federal capital and hand it over to the Scientific Research Department for endless genetic research and ability dismantling. No, I can't hand her over, Lin Jin almost blurted out, and Xing Luo's confused eyes' gentle smile, and her pure and innocent heart instantly appeared in her mind. He couldn't imagine Starfall being imprisoned in a cold laboratory as a test subject, which was something he would never allow to happen. These days, the stars fell and his heart is no longer a mysterious test subject, but a person worthy of protecting with his life, and the feelings that have quietly grown have long taken root in his heart, transcending military orders and duties, and have become the most determined obsession in his life. Captain, the order from the headquarters. The consequences of disobeying military orders are unimaginable, ranging from dismissal and investigation, or being regarded as a traitor at worst, affecting all the crew of the Dawn. The vice-captain's face was full of worry, and his tone was full of anxiety. Lin Jin's eyes were as firm as iron, and his tone was unquestionable. I have my own measure, and I will bear all the consequences alone. Give me orders, replenish supplies at full speed, evacuate the relay station in 10 minutes, change routes, and go to the hidden stronghold of the Gamma Galaxy to avoid the tracking of the headquarters. He would rather give up everything he has worked hard for years than live up to the perseverance in his heart. However, as soon as the Dawn started its engine, the two Federation destroyers appeared in the field of view like ghosts. Their guns pointed at the Dawn, forming an encirclement. The cold voice of the commander of the Federation fleet came from the communicator. With an unbelievable majesty, Captain Lin Jin, I am ordered to take over the test subject 7, and you have 10 minutes to hand it over. Otherwise you will be punished for disobeying military orders and covering up dangerous elements. And immediately open fire and sink the Dawn. Lin Jin strode towards the center of the bridge, staring at the Federation fleet on the holographic screen like a blade, and his tone was cold and piercing. Starfall is not a test subject. She is a living person, with her own consciousness and emotions. I will never hand her over to you and let you disassemble and study it at will. Lin Jin, you have to think clearly. The commander's voice was accompanied by a stern warning. If you disobey the military order, your years of merit will be in vain, and all the crew members on the Dawn will be implicated because of you and become traitors. The bridge fell into dead silence, and the crew looked at Lin Jin one after another. Their eyes did not flinch at all. They were full of determination. They have long regarded Lin Jin as a belief, and have long accepted the gentle and powerful Starfall, and are willing to live and die with the captain. Xingwo slowly walked to Lin Jin's side. Gently holding his hand, the temperature of his palm conveyed power, and his lilac eyes were full of determination. Lin Jin, don't implicate everyone for me. I will go with them. At least I can keep you safe. She is not afraid of being imprisoned, but afraid of implicating the people she cherishes. Lin Jin held Xingwo's hand instead, firm and warm, and protected her behind him. With an unquestionable protective meaning, I said that I will protect you thoroughly, and I will definitely do it. No one can take you away, not even the federal headquarters. He turned his head to look at the console. His voice suddenly became sharp, and he issued a battle order. All the members are ready to fight. Activate the most advanced quantum shield. Starfall, please strengthen your shield energy. Let's rush out. Xingwo nodded in response. The silver lines around his body instantly lit up. The lilac energy enveloped the entire Dawn like a nebula, and the shield energy value soared to the limit, glowing with a glossy luster. The Federation fleet was the first to attack, and the dense artillery fire rained down like a torrential rain, falling on the shield and stirring up layers of light. But it was never able to break through this barrier of love and strength. Lin Jin controlled the Dawn, and with his superb driving skills, he flexibly shuttled through the intertwined gaps of artillery fire, and at the same time ordered the main guns to counterattack to contain the firepower of the Federation fleet. And a fierce battle with one enemy began. The battle became more and more intense, and although the Dawn had the energy of the Starfall, it gradually fell into a disadvantage in the face of the bombardment of the destroyers. The shield energy continued to decline as it continued to be consumed. The hull was damaged in many places. The alarms sounded one after another, and the lights inside the ship flickered and dimmed, exuding an aura of despair. Captain, the shield energy is 30 left. The engine on the left side of the hull is damaged, and the power is reduced by 20. The energy officer's voice was anxious, piercing with a piercing siren. Lin Jin's brows furrowed, knowing in his heart that fighting hard was not a good strategy, and he had to break through as soon as possible. But he was now in a desperate situation. At this moment, Xingwo suddenly spoke, his tone calm but with unquestionable firmness. I can detonate the energy core in my body, create a small energy storm, temporarily contain them. You take the opportunity to break through. Lin Jin's face changed suddenly. He grabbed her shoulder, and his tone was full of panic and veto. No. This will drain your life force and even lose your soul. I will never allow you to do this. This is the only way. Xingwo looked at Lin Jin. His lilac eyes were full of tenderness, without the slightest fear. Lin Jin, thank you for making me feel the warmth of home. Let me know the meaning of existence. No longer a cold test subject. I am very happy to know you and be able to stand side by side with you these days. After she finished speaking, without waiting for Lin Jin's rebuttal, the energy around her body began to fluctuate violently, and the lilac light was as fierce as the scorching sun, almost illuminating the entire bridge, and the energy lines flowed rapidly on her body, as if burning life. Starfall! Lin Jin roared and wanted to stop it, but was pushed away by a powerful energy stream, and he couldn't get close at all. Starfall's body slowly floated. The light around her body became brighter and brighter. The silver lines were intertwined like a star net, The corners of her mouth were pouting faintly. Her eyes were tightly locked on Lin Jin, as if she wanted to engrave his appearance deeply in the depths of her soul, and shouted with all her last strength, "Let's go. Be sure to live well." And the roar of penetrating energy fell on Lin Jin's ears. As the words fell, a powerful energy storm erupted from inside the dawn, sweeping out like a raging nebula, and surging towards the Federation fleet. The shields of the Federation fleet were torn in an instant. The hull shook violently. Artillery fire came to a standstill, and the crew fell into chaos. Lin Jin looked at the figure that gradually became transparent in the starfall. His heart seemed to be torn severely, and the pain was unbearable. He clearly knew that the starfall was burning his own life and turning into the last barrier to protect them. "Starfall, wait for me. I will definitely save you. No matter the end of the earth. No matter what the price, I will get you back." Lin Jin's eyes were red, tears rolled in his eyes. But he held back to prevent it from falling, and there was only one obsession left in his heart, to save the starfall. He suppressed the grief in his heart, controlled the dawn, and took advantage of the chaos caused by the energy storm to rush out of the encirclement of the Federation fleet at full speed and gallop towards the Gamma Galaxy. The energy storm behind him gradually dissipated, and Starfall's figure completely blended into the starry sky, leaving only a faint but persistent energy aura, lingering on Lin Jin's fingertips like an unbroken bond. After arriving at the hidden stronghold of the Gamma Galaxy, Lin Jin immediately ordered the repair of the Dawn, and at the same time used all black market channels and hidden connections to fully investigate the truth about Starfall's life experience and the forbidden experiment of Starfall 7. The hard work paid off, and a few days later, he finally found out the whereabouts of an old scientist who participated in the experiment drive. Eve. At that time, Eve was expelled by the Federation because she firmly opposed the use of test subjects for military purposes, and lived in seclusion on a deserted planet on the edge of the Gamma Galaxy, ignoring the world. Lin Jin took a few of his trusted crew members and took a small landing ship to the marginal planet. The surface of the planet was barren, volcanic rocks were exposed, the wind roared through with sand and dust, and the world was gray with only a few settlements scattered among them, exuding an air of dead silence. In a hidden underground laboratory, they found Dr. Eve. Eve, who was over 100 years old, gray-haired but energetic, and had the wisdom and determination of a scholar in her eyes. When she saw the Starfall genetic test report handed over by Lin Jin, Eve's emotions instantly lost control, her hands trembling and stroking the genetic sequence on the report, her eyes full of excitement and choking. "Starfall, my child, is she still alive?" Eve's voice trembled uncontrollably, and tears slipped down the corners of her eyes. Lin Jin nodded, his tone heavy. "She is still alive. But in order to cover our breakthrough, she detonated the energy core in her body, and now her vital signs are weak and her life and death are uncertain. Doctor, I want to know the whole truth about the Star Ring 7 experiment, as well as Starfall's life experience. I must save her." Eve sighed, wiped away her tears, and slowly recounted the past of the year, her tone full of helplessness and regret. "The core purpose of the experiment is to fuse human genes with a Stardust creature gene from deep space to create super soldiers with extraordinary energy manipulation abilities to fight against the increasingly rampant interstellar pirates and potential alien civilization threats, and make up for the lack of federal military strength. Stardust creatures are special species that we accidentally discovered during deep space exploration. They feed on interstellar dust, can freely manipulate cosmic energy, have strong vitality and self-healing ability, like elves born in the galaxy." Eve said slowly, her eyes full of awe, "But the genes of this creature are extremely unstable, and the success rate of fusion with human genes is extremely low. And the first 6 test subjects all died painfully due to gene rejection during the fusion process." Lin Jin's heart tightened, and he asked, "Who are Xingluo's parents?" Eve shook her head slightly, her eyes full of tenderness and pity. "Starfall has no parents. She is a test subject cultivated by us using artificially bred human embryos and fusing with the core genes of Stardust creatures. I personally participated in her nurturing process and watched her grow from a tiny embryo to an ignorant girl, just like my own daughter. When the experiment got out of control and caused an energy storm, the federal military was eager to recover the experimental data, ignoring the safety of Xingluo. I took the opportunity to put her into a special incubation chamber, let her fall into a deep sleep, and hid in the deepest part of the laboratory, and barely escaped the federal investigation. After the stars fall and burn the energy core, is there any salvation? This is the question that Lin Jin is most concerned about. And there is a hint of apprehension and expectation in his tone. Eve pondered for a moment, and a glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. There is help. Stardust creatures have extremely strong vitality, and as long as Herc or genes are not completely destroyed, there is a possibility of resurrection. But you need to find the Stardust Heart. It is the energy source of the Stardust creature population, hidden in the birthplace of the Stardust creature population, which can replenish the energy of the starfall, repair the damaged genes and energy core, and give her a new life. Where is the Stardust Heart? Lin Jin immediately asked, his eyes shining with hope. In the Stardust Nebula, in deep space, it is the birthplace of Stardust creatures, and the internal environment of the nebula is extremely harsh, full of violent energy turbulence and unknown space rifts. Eve's tone was solemn. What's even more dangerous is that the mysterious organization that hired the Black Crows to capture Starfall back then is also frantically looking for Stardust Heart. Their purpose is probably not simple. There is a high probability that they want to see Stardust Heart and control the energy power of Stardust creatures. Lin Jin's eyes were as firm as iron, and his tone was unshakable determination. No matter how dangerous the Stardust Nebula is, no matter how many obstacles I have to face, I will find the heart of Stardust and save the Starfall. He solemnly thanked Eve, and then returned to the Dawn with the crew, and immediately began to plan a route to the Stardust Nebula. After the crew learned the truth, none of them flinched, and they took the initiative to fight, willing to follow the captain to the unknown danger, just to save the gentle and powerful girl. This friendship is as sincere as a galaxy. After half a month of interstellar voyage, Dawn finally arrived at the outskirts of the Stardust Nebula. The nebula was filled with dense interstellar dust, like a thick curtain obscuring the starlight. Visibility was extremely low, and the violent energy turbulence continued to hit the shield. The hull shook violently, and the alarm sounded continuously. The faint energy left by the starfall became particularly clear here, like a star guiding the direction, pulling Lin Jin closer to the depths of the nebula step by step, as if telling the obsession of I am still here. Captain, an extremely strong energy reaction was detected ahead, and the energy characteristics were highly consistent with the Stardust Heart, and at the same time, the signal of an unknown spaceship was detected, and the energy fluctuation was extremely strong, far exceeding that of ordinary pirate ships and federal warships. The communications officer's voice was alert and quickly reported the situation. Lin Jin's heart tightened, and he said in a deep voice, "There is a high probability that it is the people of that mysterious organization, all on guard, ready for battle." Lin Jin carefully controlled the Dawn, shuttling through the violent energy turbulence, avoiding the deadly space rift and slowly approaching the source of the energy reaction. In the depths of the nebula, a crystal emitting lilac light was suspended in the starry sky, and the crystal flowed like a galaxy-like pattern. The light was soft but contained majestic energy, which was the heart of Stardust. Next to the Stardust Heart, a large black spaceship was quietly moored, its hull covered with eerie black lines, and an eerie dark purple energy flowed between the lines, exuding a suffocating sense of oppression, like a giant beast lurking in the galaxy. "That's the spaceship of the Shadow Organization." The deputy captain's face changed suddenly, and his tone was full of fear. "The Shadow Organization is the most mysterious evil force in the interstellar world, acting ruthlessly, unresolutely, doing all kinds of evil, and it is said that there is a secret collusion with some high-level officials within the Federation, and has been secretly conducting various forbidden experiments, in a vain attempt to control the energy of the universe and dominate the stars." Lin Jin's eyes were gold, and he already knew in his heart that the Shadow Organization was behind the hiring of the Black Crows, and their goal was not only Starfall, but also the Stardust Heart that could control the energy of Stardust. The Shadow Organization's spaceship quickly spotted the Dawn and immediately sent several fighter jets to intercept it, and the artillery fire came like a dense rain. All the members have entered a combat state. The energy of Starfall is extremely strong here. Her consciousness may still be there. We try to resonate with her energy and use her power. Lin Jin ordered in a deep voice, and at the same time put his hand on the energy interface of the console, closed his eyes, concentrated on communicating with the faint energy breath of his fingertips, and silently muttered in his heart, "Starfall, I'm here to pick you up, wait for me." A miracle happened quietly, and the moment Lin Jin's consciousness was connected to that trace of energy breath, a lilac light suddenly burst out of his body, like a galaxy pouring back, echoing the light of the Stardust Heart, forming a brilliant energy bridge. The energy around the Stardust Heart instantly became violent, and a majestic energy stream swept towards the dawn, integrating the spaceship's shield and weapon system along the energy interface, and the hull glowed with a glossy lilac light, and the energy value instantly soared to the peak. "Captain, the spaceship's energy value soars to the limit, and the shield and weapon system are strengthened by Stardust energy, doubling the power," the weapons officer shouted excitedly, his voice full of shock. Lin Jin could clearly feel the majestic energy of Stardust's heart, and he could even more perceive the faint but firm consciousness of Starfall. She was still alive, she was responding to him, fighting side by side with him, and the bond that crossed life and death became stronger and stronger in the energy resonance. "Rush up and seize the heart of Stardust," Lin Jin gave an order, and the Dawnbreaker broke through the interception of the fighter like a sharp blade blessed by Stardust, and galloped towards the heart of Stardust. The Shadow Organization's spaceship immediately launched a fierce attack, and the black energy beam attacked like a poisonous snake, but it was easily blocked by the strengthened shield, only stirring up fine light patterns. The dawn was moving towards the heart of Stardust quickly, and the flames of revenge and redemption burned in everyone's hearts. Lin Jin controlled the main gun, gathering the energy of the Stardust Heart, and a dazzling lilac beam shot out from the muzzle, like cutting through a dark galaxy, accurately hitting the Shadow Organization's spaceship. The hull was instantly pierced through a huge hole. Black smoke billowed out, and the internal structure was severely damaged. Seeing this, the leader of the Shadow Organization was furious, and personally piloted a special small battleship, rushing towards the Stardust Heart with violent energy, in a vain attempt to forcibly seize the Stardust Heart before it was destroyed. Lin Jin immediately drove the fighter to meet him, and the two engaged in a fierce fight around the Stardust Heart. The leader of the Shadow Organization had extremely superb driving skills, and the firepower of the battleship was also extremely fierce. At this moment, Stardust Heart suddenly burst out with an unprecedented dazzling light. The lilac light spread like a nebula, and the figure of Starfall slowly emerged from the light, although the body was still a bit transparent. But it was full of firm breath, and the lilac eyes were full of joy and determination of reunion. "Starfall!" Lin Jin's heart was ecstatic, and the offensive instantly became sharp, and his eyes were full of lost and regained treasures. Starfall raised his hand, and the lilac energy converged into a sharp blade of light, like a sharp blade condensed in stardust, slashing towards the battleship of the leader of the Shadow Organization. The light blade carried majestic energy, instantly penetrating the shield of the battleship and hitting the core of the hull. The battleship exploded instantly, the flames wrapped in the wreckage and scattered, and the leader of the Shadow Organization was buried in the sea of stars, completely annihilated in the galaxy. The crisis was lifted, and Starfall slowly fell on the bridge of the dawn, his body still a little weak, and his steps staggered slightly. Lin Jin stepped forward quickly and hugged her tightly into his arms without hesitation, soft but firm, as if he wanted to integrate all the thoughts that span life and death into the embrace, and his voice trembled with a hint of trembling. "Great, you're fine. I finally found you." Xing Wo leaned into his warm embrace, feeling his calm heartbeat and lilac eyes. The energy of the Stardust Heart slowly melted into Starfall's body, repairing her damaged genes and body. Her body gradually became solid, and the fluorescence around her became stable and soft. Eve then rushed to the Stardust Nebula to conduct a comprehensive examination of Starfall, confirming that she had fully recovered and that her energy manipulation abilities were stronger than before. Lin Jin knew that neither the Federation nor the Shadow Organization would easily give up on tracking down Starfall, and the future path for him and Starfall was still full of dangers. But he is no longer confused, because he is someone he wants to protect and a partner to fight alongside him. The dawn set sail again, flying towards the unknown starry sky, and the Stardust Nebula behind him emitted a lilac light, like a bond woven by stardust, tightly connecting him to the Starfall. In the year 373 of the galactic calendar, Lin Jin lead the crew of Starfall and Dawn to establish an independent interstellar expedition team called the Start Rip Team. They shuttle through the vast sea of stars, searching for the secrets of Stardust creatures, while fighting against the pursuit of the Shadow Organization and the Federation, while also leaving their own love and legend in the universe. No matter how many dangers lie ahead, Lin Jin and Xingwo will work hand in hand, illuminate each other's way forward with love and courage, and write eternal bonds between the Stardust